imbibers, a very warm welcome to all of you. Once again, we are here with another chapter, yes, from your syllabus, which is the morphology of flowering plants. Yes, we have successfully completed the most important chapter, and of course most remembering it's little bit difficult to understand and to remember also. Of course, all the 3 chapters required grasping and remembrance. There are less concepts in the initial. We have completed the biological classification, plant kingdom, and of course the living world. 3 chapters we have completed. Now we're jumping to the 4th chapter, which is the introduction to the morphology of flowering plants. As you know, children, this is of course also the most important topic from your syllabus. But before we start, let me introduce you to myself. I am Anam. I'll be your biology expert for the session 2023 and 2024, and we're going to discuss all the amazing and interesting topics related to botany, just like we have been already discussing. Hi Pratiksha, I hope you guys are doing really well. Since this is the very first day and the very first day of the very 3rd chapter, yes, I will not say first chapter, so it's important for you to be there in the sequence so that in the respective sessions you understand what have been already taught and which sequence we are going on. So today it will be little bit discussion about the roots and of course the morphology of flowering plants and what do you mean by morphology. Moving forward, next we have, as you can see, these are the topics which will be covered in this session related to the morphology. Yes, the root, stem, leaf, inflorescence, flower, fruit, seed, and some technical description of flowering plants families, and of course discussion of some important features of certain families. Everything will be discussed in each and every session, so please be there for the session and please attend it very carefully. Please put all your concentration towards this particular session. Next we have, as you know, the concepts would be covered in today's chapter will be related to the introduction of the morphology of the flowering plants and of course the root system. How we define the morphology, which system includes in the morphology, root system, shoot system, and of course the characteristics of root, origin, primary, secondary, taproot system, fibrous root system, and of course the adventitious root system. Everything will be discussed in today's session. So shall we start? Yes. A quick recap of what we have studied in the previous session. We have studied about the angiosperms, yes, the phanerograms. We have studied about the angiosperm. We have seen how different kind of a life cycle of angiosperm exists, what are the different features which make the most advanced family in the plant kingdom, especially the double fertilization and triple fusion, and the ovaries having the ovules, and of course the seed has been covered inside the ovary. Everything has been discussed in this. So these are the few features of the angiosperm. If you have missed this session is already there on the dashboard of the Embibe app. Whenever you have time, you can go through it. All the characteristics, important characteristics of the angiosperm has been already discussed in that session, and the life cycle also, monocot seed, dicot seed, everything has been discussed. So you can watch that whenever you feel it's like for you to revise that particular chapter. Yes, let's start at today's session talking about the morphology, children. What you see right now, whenever you see a plant, whenever the first vision, the moment you see the plant, what you see? The most beautiful flowers, the leaves, the stems, and of course the root is not visible, but it is of course the part of the plant. So children, if I talk about any plant, the whole things, the very first thing you see is the morphology, the external features, the structure. Every flower is different, every flower is beautiful because they have certain kind of a morphology, certain kind of a structure. So when we use the term morphology, we are typically talking about the external features. Talking about the angiosperms, which are of course the flowering family and the only flowering family, they have a proper distinct features in a plant, which is root, stem and leaves, fruits and flowers. Yes, so you know already we have discussed about the angiosperms. The angiosperms are the most advanced family. These are the flowering family with a well-defined root, shoot, flowers, yes, leaves. Everything is basically well defined. So when we're going to study about the morphology, we're going to study the external features of the flowering family only. We're going to study the external features of the angiospermic family. So let's start moving on. Then we see what we have. As you can see, children, there is a root, okay, with the part which is located below the soil, which is not generally visible, but if you dig, if you just remove the soil, you can see the root there present. It is present below the soil, and there is a part which is above the soil, which is clearly visible whenever you see the particular part. So a typical plant is being divided into two. One is the root system, this is below the soil, and one part is above the soil, that is what you call as shoot. So whole plant is typically having two systems. One is the root system, the other is the shoot system. And we are going to study the morphology of both the parts of the flowering family. The root system of a flowering plant is located below the soil, the part which is under the soil, yes, and the part which is above the soil is called shoot system. Yes, we are going to also talk about the modifications of the roots and shoot also. So don't say, ma'am, there is roots are present above the soil also, shoots are present below the soil also. Yes, but there are certain modifications present in the roots and the shoot as well. We are going to discuss about that modification, of course. But what is basic, what is general characteristic is that the root has to be always below the soil and the shoot has to be always above the soil. Both the systems are typically individual systems operating above the soil and below the soil. Clear? Shall we move? So moving forward, talking about the root system. So children, a root system, a typical part which is present inside the soil, is having division into the primary root, the secondary root, and of course there are tertiary roots also, and there are root hairs. So your root system is further divided into primary, the first form roots, then secondary, more branching, and tertiary, the more branching, and all these roots will be having the root hairs. You know why the root hairs are present? To maximize the absorption. Yes. So children, the roots typically have the primary root, secondary root, and of course the tertiary root. All three are the part of the root system. This is the primary root, this is the secondary root, much branching, this is the tertiary root. And this whole root system will be having a tiny finger-like projections, what you call, those are typically the root hairs which maximize the absorption, because that's the only way of absorbing water from the soil. And plant needs a lot of water for the growth and development. So this is about the typical root system having three particular parts: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Talking more about the root system, there is another which is called the shoot system. Yes, what does the shoot system includes? So children, when we are going to study the morphology of the shoot system, we are going to comprise the stem, which is branches, leaves, nodes, internodes, axillary buds, the reproductive parts of the plant. All these things which are present over here are comprising your shoot system. Yes, the shoot system is comprised of everything: the leaves, the flower, the nodes, the internodes, the reproductive part of the plant stamen, and of course the carpel. Every part which is present above the ground on the stem concludes a present as a part of a shoot system. Yes, as you can even see over here, yes, these are the flower, these are the buds which eventually lead to the branching of the stem. These are the leaves basically present, we do the photosynthesis, you know, there's a stem, all everything has been arranged. All these parts are of the shoot system. So we are going to study the morphology of all these shoot system, all the parts of the shoot system. It could be, we are going to study about the nodes, we are going to study about the internodes, about the kind of leaves present in the different plants. Yes, we are going to study about the stem also present in different plants, which kind of stem we have in different plants, and we are going to also study about the reproductive parts, the flower. Yes, we are going to study about the stamen also, we are going to study about the carpel or pistil also. So this is the part of the shoot system. Next we have the question for you. So children, now you need to connect the respective part of the root system. Yes, come on quickly, connect the part of the root system or the system, typically shoot system. Yes, the correct answer would be the shoot system includes the stem as well as the leaves. That's now we have discussed about it. Next we have the talking about in detail. Okay, we have another question again. The root system is located below the soil. True or false? What do you think it's true and what do you think it's false? Yes, the correct answer is of course true. The part of the root which is located below the soil is called root system. Next, so children, these are the part plants that absorb dissolved compounds and of course the water. You know, the major function of the root is to dissolve, it is to absorb the dissolved compounds, minerals and water from the soil. Yes, the major function of the root is that only, to absorb the essential nutrients from the soil, the water and the important compounds. Yes, that's the function of the roots and we know that. And in certain plants, as you can even see, the roots helps in the floating also. Yes, not only of course you know the aquatic plants, the root helps in the floating also. Yes, so that is where it generally does. There also it does the whole providing the buoyancy to the plants. Yes, so maximum, the major part, the major function of the root is always the absorption of the dissolved compounds and water. Okay, next, plant use same anchors which use them in soil and support their growth. Yes, so children, as you know, we have a long trees. Yes, and these trees have a very long roots which are present inside the soil. So yes, these are also called as anchors. They are also such anchors which secure them in soil and supports their growth. Yes, okay, so children, plant use some anchors which secure them in soil and supports their growth, and that is what is the root. Children, there is always a thing. If even there is 160 meter like sequoia plant above the ground, there is a possibility, it is true, that the root will not be that much long. There is a limitation to the growth of the root, and the reason these anchors, these roots which are present below the soil, there is a fair possibility that the sequoia plant, which is the tallest plant on the earth, might have a very long root, but it will not be long as the amount of length or the amount of growth which is present in the stem, because the roots of the plant is being limited. The roots of the trees are limited up to certain extent because they have root caps. So the part of the plant which is present above the soil and the part of the plant which is present below the soil, for the support to basically give the strength so that it can stand tall, will not be as much as in length as the stem. So yes, there is this thing that the anchors provide the stability and supports their growth. As much as long they wanted to grow, they can grow, but they will not be as much as long with the part that is present above the soil. So yes, the roots give the proper support and strength to the plant to grow and develop more. Yes, this is the function of the major function of the, also the major functions of the roots. Next we have, the roots are the anchors used by the plants. The root supports the firmly in the soil. As you know, can you see this? Children, if you ever wanted to take the plant out of the soil, you can see that it will require lot of effort to remove the plant from the soil. It requires lot of digging because the plant has I would say in Hindi it has clearly, what you say, in jakad liya hai. Sare roots, they basically get stick to the soil and they get so much embedded inside the soil. They basically create such a network which gives them a very firm, very much strength, so that they can attach the whole part to the soil. So it's not easy for us to remove the plant from the soil because it is being attached to the soil very firmly. Yes. So this is what we are talking about, the roots which support the plant firmly in the soil. Yes. Next we have talking about more of the roots. What are the characteristics of the roots? So children, you know the characteristics of the roots we talk about. The characteristic is that it is a descending component of the plant axis. Of course, from the top to the bottom, it is the descending. Moment we reach the roots, we are going to be in the end of the plant. And the stem is the ascending axis. Yes, it is typically positively geotropic. What do you mean by positively geotropic? It is growing, always growing towards gravity. Yes, it's always growing towards the gravity. Non-chlorophyllous. What is non-chlorophyllous? There is no chlorophyll present and it does not involve in the photosynthetic activity. Yes, the nodes and the internodes are completely absent and it has a root cap. This is what I have already told you about. It has a root cap which protects the root tip and also limits its growth, and it has unicellular root hairs. The root hairs which are present on the roots are unicellular. The roots are in the descending component. They are positively geotropic. The gravity acts as a stimulus, and of course it is basically growing towards the gravity. Okay. Non-chlorophyllous, it does not involve in the photosynthesis process. It does not have nodes as well as the internodes. It has a root cap which protects the root tips and they have unicellular root hairs. So all these are the characteristics of the root. Clear? Everyone? Is it clear? Anything which you want me to repeat again about the roots? Yes or no? Yes? Anything which you want me to repeat about the roots? The roots are descending components. Yes, they are basically very firmly attached to the soil. They are the part which is present below the soil, majorly responsible for absorbing the nutrients, the water, the dissolved compounds. Yes, so these are the few characteristics of the roots. Next is the root system in the plants. So children, there are certainly three types of root system in the plants. One is the tap root system, which we also called as true root system. True root system. The tap root system is a typical true root system. Yes, next we also have, just like this, which is not very much in the length, we have the shorter roots also called as fibrous root system. Yes, we also have the fibrous root system, and next we have the adventitious root system also called as false roots. False roots. Yes, we are going to talk about all these things, do not worry about it, but first of all you should know the root system is further divided into three. One is the tap root system, the other is the fibrous root system, the other is the adventitious root system. Yes, all three systems are a part of the root. Tap root system is typically the true root system, while the adventitious root system is the also called as false root system, because the roots are typically not present under the soil. It's typically above the soil attached to the branches, also called as false root or adventitious roots. So we're going to study about all three systems in the session. Yes, moving forward, next we have the tap root system. So that's why I told you we're going to discuss about each and every one. One is the tap root system. It is a characteristics of a dicot. Now you know what are dicots. A dicot which have plumule and radicle. Yes, a typical radicle will develop into a true root system or a tap root system simply. Okay. Next, The radicals directly elongation result into the creation of primary root that develop inside the soil. Just now we have studied about the primary root. This is your primary root, the first form roots from the radical. That is what you call the primary root. The radical freshly formed first form roots, that is what you call primary root, developing from the radical of the dicot seed. The primary root develops lateral roots. As you can see, the primary roots are developing the lateral roots, which including the secondary, tertiary and so forth. Yes, as you can see children, this is how further the division, this is the primary, then it would be secondary and then it would be tertiary. All this system will continually increase, but the primary root system, the primary root will be formed out of the radical and is the first form root. Yes, the primary roots, either branches constitute of the taproot system. An example of the true root system, a taproot system is the mustard plant. So, this is about the taproot system. Yes, this is about the true root system arising from the radical which have primary root, secondary, tertiary also. But the first form system is the primary roots. Then they have lateral roots also, secondary roots also and tertiary roots also and so forth, they keep on spreading. Yes. Next we have the fibrous root system. The another root system present in the plant is the fibrous root system. It is a character feature of a monocot. That is why I told you it is not that developed, because it is a monocot, single cotyledon. Yes, it is developed from single cotyledon. Monocot, a simple cotyledon. One cotyledon is being developing into root as well as shoot. So, that is why it is not going to be a very much developed fibrous root system. There is a primary root is short lived and is replaced by enormous number of roots which originate from the stem base, example wheat plant. As you can see also, this kind of a system like a fibers, like a whole bunch of roots. They are not very long, they are short and they basically is originating from the stem side. As you can see, this is the stem and it is being originating from that only, and that is why it is called the monocot. Monocot, you know, the plants are not that well developed. Yes, single cotyledon developing the whole root system, and that is why these roots are typically attached to the stem. Such fibrous root system can be seen in the wheat plant. Yes, such system can be seen in the wheat plant. Next we have the adventitious root system, which is also called the false root system. Everybody has seen banyan tree. There is nothing to be talked about. Everybody knows about the banyan tree arise from the parts of the plant other than the radical. That is why it is also called as false root system, because it is not arising from the radical, it is arising from the other parts of the plant. It is arising from the other branches of the plant, not radical, and that is why it is called as false root system or the adventitious root system. Example of this are prop roots in the banyan tree. सबने देखा है बरगद का पेड़. It is the banyan tree I am talking about. Yes, those branches in the banyan tree are nothing. They are roots. They are not stem. They are not branches. Those are root and those are adventitious roots. These roots arise from the branches of tree and provide mechanical support. You know how huge the banyan tree is, and because of these roots, it's not easy for a banyan tree to find out which is a true root only, which is the main stem of the particular tree, because it's so wide, so wide and have so many branches, so many adventitious roots. So yes, it gives a lot of strength to the banyan tree, it gives a lot of mechanical support to the banyan tree, and I know all of you have seen this tree somewhere in your life. Yes, clear? So this is the third root system with the adventitious root system. Yes, next we have functions of the roots. We have already discussed about it, but yes, still we are going to discuss about it. The function of the roots are, it absorbs water and minerals from the soil, absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing anchorage to the plant, storage of the reserve food material. Yes, the roots also act as a storage for the reserve food material, and the synthesis of plant growth regulators also. Yes, the root tip and the shoot tip give rise to the plant growth regulators, PGRs, which we are going to study in the physiology. The storage of the reserve food, the food also being reserved in the roots. Yes, and they also synthesize the plant growth regulator. Apart from giving strength, apart from absorption of water, apart from the absorption of the minerals and dissolved compounds, these are also the functions of the roots. Yes, this is all about roots. I think we have discussed so much about the roots. I am tired. Next, we have a question for you. Connect the function to the root of the image bubble. Come on, quickly. Yes, the correct answer would be it provide anchorage to the plant, store reserves, conduct food and water material. All the options are completely correct. Next we have the find the taproot system from the images. Very simple. Need to find out the taproot system from the images. Which of them resembles the taproot system? The answer is these two resembles the taproot system. This is the fibrous root system. So children, this is all about today's session where we have discussed about the introduction to the morphology plants. We have discussed in detail about the three root system, which is the taproot system, fibrous root system, adventitious root system, and I have given you a brief introduction which we are going to discuss in the future sessions. Yes, the taproot system, the true root system, the fibrous root system which is a part of the monocot plant, and then we have the adventitious root system. All these systems are the part of the plants. Yes. And children, as you know, before you go, do you know the roots get modified to perform other function also? This is what I was talking about. Do not forget, we're going to discuss about these modifications also. So whatever characteristics we discussed about the roots, there are certain things which the roots do and they perform functions other than what we have discussed. Those are the modified roots. Children, this is something which you know. This is the Embibe app. You can log in through your phone number, your email ID, get an OTP, download the app and do register for the upcoming classes. What you have to do, just select the class, go for the school examination CBSE and go for the 11th CBSE since your class is 11th, and then suddenly done. Go for the home page button. Next we have Embibe live classes and then we have upcoming classes next. You know I have already scheduled your upcoming classes, so do not forget to join us on that. Yes. So these are the upcoming classes and these are the past coming classes. Do not forget to join us over there. Do register yourself for the class so you never miss an update. Next we have the Embibe Lens app. We have to do just scan the text and see everything in 3D. Until we meet again with the another session of the morphology of flowering plants. Please take care. Keep imbibing. Bye bye.
Keep imbibing. We believe in you.